Here we've got with us today a good friend of mine, JB. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. All
Good,
good.
good,
Yeah.
good. Um, I want to explain to everyone that JB's become a friend like not long ago,
Yeah.
a few months we would say, a
Yeah.
few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He started to play for Roth now, so that's how we became friends. And he's got like a big journey, guys. I wasn't expecting when he told me his story, and if possible, I want you, mate, to share with us like how's been your journey through rugby, if you want to call it like that.
Yeah. I guess the rugby journey has been a big part of my life. Obviously, the age of 5, wanting to become, I guess, a professional rugby player.
Who introduced you to rugby?
My
Who
dad.
was it? Your dad,
Yeah,
yeah.
my dad. Yeah, so my dad played in France when he was young. Just the fun, And as I was born, as I grew older, I was a bit of a chunky lad, shall I say? And yeah, my dad just took me. I think it's about 2-3 times a week after school over to the field, just passing, kicking. And obviously, as I got older, I thought, this could be something I really, really wanted to do. And I was luckily and fortunate to be able to pursue a career, for 14, 15 years, and slowly still trying to hang on as long as possible as I can. So
When was your first time that you thought, oh, this, I can make this as a career apart of just having fun playing rugby?
it was difficult because obviously when you're growing up through the age groups, you think, you play against your own age and you think, oh, you're good in this. And I think it hit an age where I was about 17, 18, and my other friends started to get contracts in academies and stuff, and I got a bit worried. But I was offered university deals and scholarships and stuff, but I was quite lucky that I was playing sevens quite a lot. And we had a major tournament called Roslyn Park. I don't know whether you've heard of it.
No,
So
I
it's one of
don't
the
know
biggest
about that.
sevens tournaments in the world, where
All right, okay.
there's about 100 teams compete in the week,
Wow.
all ages, and we won it. We had a great squad, great team, and from that I got picked up by Saracens for the Premiership Sevens.
Wow.
They said, "Would you like to come along and play?" And I was like, "Look, let's give it a go."
So you knew it was people there watching for like, I don't know how you call it in English, but like people who try to get players for the clubs.
Yeah, I guess because it's sevens, it's mainly individual talent, isn't
Yeah.
it? So, and it's a small field, and I think it's a great opportunity for academies and scouting to be like, if we can have this player, we can work with him, we can do this. So luckily I was quite fortunate to play with the Premiership Sevens, Saracens, and we lost in the final, but because we got so far, there's more chance of me to play.
Yeah, of course,
And try and do well. And on the back of that, I was quite lucky to sign a 1-year deal with Saracens, which was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was the transition moving to London? Well, did you have to move to London?
Yeah, so obviously I loved it, 18-year-old, moving to a place where, it was quite exciting. And I just went with it. My parents supported me. Obviously met a real cool guy who's one of my best friends now, James Shanahan, who was coaching a team in National 2. So obviously not playing with Saracens. I used to train Tuesday and Thursday night with old Albanians, which was absolutely amazing. Created some amazing memories there. And yeah, I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
From that time, did you have like in your mind was like, oh, I can make this as a career, or it was like you were like trying to find like your way into rugby, like because at the time I can imagine like 18-year-old guy like living your dream, moving to London, playing for Saracens.
Yeah, obviously, the Saracens logo on me, was mainly I was a training member, but that sort of year gave me the confidence to be able to progress into the future I did have. The scary thing about it is rugby, that's all I knew. I woke up with it. I thought of it 24/7. I went to sleep with, how can I get better? What can I do to get better? Nothing else suited me than rugby. So I knew I had to really push hard and work hard for it. And looking back, I did some sacrifices where I look back and think, yeah, they were the moments where I made it because of those sacrifices.
And how difficult is that transition to move to maybe amateur or semi-pro to fully pro? Like, it's a big transition. How was
Yeah,
it?
it's massive. You know, you're training with guys who are monsters. You know, they live and breed it. Collisions, the running pace. So you've always got to be on it. So the transition from going to, National 2 at the time to then playing Champ Premiership, it's massive. It's a whole different ball game. So you've just got to keep up with your fitness, with your gym, with your rehab. Rehab's a massive one. I was quite lucky when I was young. I didn't have many injuries, but now I do. So yeah.
Wow, and because you mentioned your dad, I don't know if you want to say your dad is French. You also play in France. How was like, to have that possibility to go to play in France? Like, you were playing already in the Premiership here, but like, how you wanted to move, or how was that?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was quite lucky. So obviously my mother's Welsh, my father's French, and my grandparents on all my side of the family, my dad's side, lives in the south of France. So for me, I was thinking, well, there's great clubs down there. Let's give it a go. So obviously sent my CV, had a trial.
What club was it?
So
Sorry?
this was Aix-en-Provence,
All right, okay.
which were in Pro D2 at the time.
That is the division below top 14,
Yes,
right?
yeah, division below. And yeah, I did a trial and they offered me a deal. And I was like, do you know what? I get to see my grandparents every day, my French cousins who I want to spend all day with. So yeah, signed a 2-year contract and I was just turning 19. No, I was 18. Yeah, so I just thought, you know what? I'm going.
So after Saracens, you moved to France?
Yeah. So
And
I went from London to the south of
wow,
France.
and you are fluent in French as well?
Yeah, fluent. Well, I say fluent. Yeah, I speak fluently. Writing's a bit difficult.
Yeah, but you have like, more chances to a normal, player that needs to learn from scratch.
Yeah, and I think, from that transition to forwards to backs, the guy in the middle can speak French, English, because we had a lot of foreigners as well, which
All
was
right, okay.
amazing. So yeah, that sort of level of speaking was helped out really massively, to be fair.
And once you moved to France, what did you find like different to the UK?
Just more relaxed. The French way of living is just, you'd start at, say, 10 till 12, 12 till 2 off, little siesta, which I absolutely loved. And then, sometimes you train in the afternoons, 2 till 4, depending on the weather. Because down the south, it was very hot in the summer. But it was just a way of living. It was very relaxed, coffees all the time with the boys, the pastries. It's a different way of living. South of France, it's very open. You've got the sea, which was amazing. I take for granted while I was there. Looking back, I wish I, took it in a bit more. But yeah, it was great. Really enjoyed the year. I wasn't, I was third, fourth choice when I arrived, and with injuries and stuff, I became first choice week in, week out, and that's where my opportunity grew, I guess. And yeah.
And from there?
So yeah, from there, I was doing really well, and I wanted a bit of a change, and I knew Toulon was only around the corner. So I said to myself, like, why not? Why not send an email?
So it was like that. You just sent that email. Like, you didn't have any agent or like
so I had a small
scouts that tried to pick you or something.
So I was speaking to a few agents. That's another topic, agents. But I was speaking to a few agents. But my dad just said, "Look, you've had a good season. Just send an email. If you don't get a reply, you don't. But if you do, you do."
Course, yeah.
So I sent an email. I had a reply within 2 days saying, "Look, we'd like to have a trial." So I spoke to the president of X, which he really supported me, and was like, "Look, go and see what you can do." So I had a trial, turned up. Obviously, the names they had then was just a little...
Can you just tell us a little bit, at the time that you arrived to Toulon, who were the names that they were there?
Yeah, so obviously you had Matt Gitu, you had Johnny Wilkinson, you had the Armitage brothers, you had Brian Habana, you had Bakis Borta, you had all the big names. Bernard Laporte, the coach.
Yeah, that they were retiring, if you want to call it like that, in Toulon, because they were old for your
Living
rugby,
the dream, yeah.
But they were winning everything at that time.
And that's what I thought. As I said, when I turned up to train, I thought it'd be more of not a chilled place, but, more relaxed. But the way they trained clearly showed why they won everything that year. It was a scary place to be. But, again, I really enjoyed it. And luckily enough, after training, I had, the big guys helping me one-on-ones and helping me improve, taking time out to help the young guys. So again, I was very lucky for that. And yeah, basically they offered me a 3-year contract. But at the time, the club I was playing with didn't have a 9. So they said to me, look, you can train with them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then play for us. So I did that for the whole year. And the whole thing behind it was now there's this GIF thing in France where you have to be brought up in an academy. And it didn't work out very well in the end because I didn't do any academy work behind the scenes with X because I wasn't told to. And it all fizzled out in the end.
Yeah.
But, I still keep in touch with a lot of the players back then. And it's actually really, really nice.
Wow. And can you say that you learned something from them, from these big names, like from the big players, like not just for rugby, but like the way that they live? Do you think you could learn something because you were a really young player at that time?
I think it's the whole approach to it. Like training started at 8, boys were there 6:30 in the morning, rehab, eating breakfast, eating good food, warming up before. They had a whole different approach. To be a professional, I think it's not what you do on the field, it's what you do off it, and seeing them do what they've achieved before but still doing it now even better, I think put into perspective, if I wanted to make it, or if I wanted to pursue a career, those are the good habits you'd have to endure to make it.
Did you feel that transition that maybe for the top 14 is so much faster, like the impacts are so much like I don't know how do you call it, but like worse? I don't know how you call that.
Do you know what? It's actually a lot easier because when you're playing with really good players, they read you early. They know what you're gonna do, or you have that sort of relationship of, okay, I've seen that gap, you've seen that gap, so how do we get there? And I honestly believe, I could chuck the ball anywhere and I'd have someone there or someone saying to me, do this, do that. And it was amazing, to be fair. And I think that's the difference in when you're playing that top level, is everyone's fit enough to be able to do those things. And as you get low in the leagues, it's more, it's not just quite there. But then the enjoyment's there. When you're playing at top level, you make a mistake, that could cost you quite a bit.
And because you were showing me, a few minutes ago, you play for also Clermont in France. How that opportunity, came to you, or who did approach to you?
Yeah, again, so this is what I mean about giving everything to rugby. I signed at Worcester Warriors for 2 years, and the first year I was there, we were called the Shags team.
All right, okay.
So we had a great team, and that was in the championship. So obviously the aim was to get promoted. We had signed loads of boys, and during that year, I didn't really play for the first team at all, but they put me captain for the Shags, and I just never give up. Anyway, we had the best year. I probably had the best year of my career because the 2 scrum halves at the time got injured in the final. So obviously they had to choose me, which I don't think still now they were fond of. But, I believed in myself. I could help out, and, I think I did. And, from that we got promoted, which was unreal. And during my time off, I had a bit of a groin injury, which I was considering about maybe having an operation. But this agent rang me and said, look, Clermont want to sign you for 6 months. And I was like, nah, this couldn't be real. I had an injury and I was like, do I go? But I was like, I have to go. This is massive.
Who saw you for Clermont? Or like who told them, or how?
So when I was looking back now, when I was training in Toulon, there was the coach called Pierre Mioni. He was the number 9. He was the backs coach. And I think he was quite a very well-known player in Clermont. So I think they asked him, do you know a 9? And luckily, he put my name forward. Obviously not expensive at all. So, I went and I had the phone call and I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go. The club let me. And it was the best decision I made.
So at that time, you were already in the UK and you're back again to France.
Yeah, so I just finished off our off-season. So obviously went to Florida, enjoyed myself. Didn't do much running at all because my groin was playing up. And yeah, literally got home. I did 3 days with Worcester, and then they were like, "Yeah, you're off to Clermont for 5 6 months."
Wow.
Morgan Parra's gone to the World Cup, so you're in. And yeah, it turned up. The first day was, who are you and all this, and then the second day was just the fan base in Clermont is I've never seen anything like it.
Wow. Example?
So we had about 3 4 thousand people turn up for training.
What?
Yeah, so obviously the first day, like I said,
Do they work in
well,
France?
yeah, but the rugby takes over. Like they do.
Wow.
Honestly, the fan base, and I've still got some fans now from today who are just lovely people. And yeah, we turned up the second day, and yeah, it was obscene.
So on the beach that you guys trained, like, do you have like stands that people
So-
go and see, or what?
Yeah, so you get to walk around it. All the cars we park somewhere else, so the fans can come in and do like signatures and stuff and photos, which I think is really good, and that's why they got such a big fan base in France. And the town is just rugby, rugby, rugby. So yeah, we turned up, and yeah, it was mad because we got followed. Pictures taken. It was just another world, and it was pretty amazing to be part of.
Which player you would say that it was, a player that you never imagined that you would play with or train with?
Do you know what? When I turned up at Clermont, my dream growing up was, you look at key players, Johnny and all these guys, and one of the wingers was Jose Guilla, big guy. And yeah, when I turned up, he was there, and I was like, shit, this is. I was like a kid.
You made
I
it,
didn't know what
mate.
to do. Yeah, I didn't know what to do, and I was like, oh, hey mate, and we just become good. Everyone become good friends, and they're just human, and it was so nice. One of my rugby, I say heroes back in the day, is now a teammate, and yeah, it's pretty surreal, to be fair.
And did you want to that? Because sometimes, like, speaking for myself, sometimes there is a few people that I consider not heroes, but huge figures in not just rugby, like rugby, or even this world, like podcasts or radio. And I don't know if I want to meet them anytime, because all that can be ruined because of how they are. I mean, I don't know that person. So did you not have that fear at
No,
all?
I guess you can't. For me, it was like, oh my god, I'm passing the ball to him, or look on my shoulder. And I think when you meet these people, and when you realize they're only human and they have exactly the same feelings that you have, it actually motivates me to being a better person. Because they have their own values that you look up to, and we were all over. So we had some foreigners from the islands, Australia, New Zealand, France, UK, different cultures coming together, and it was really nice. Some nights or some weekends we'd all go away together for food or camping, and you sort of understand their way of living and their cultures and their values. And for me, I thought it was amazing.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say like you're lucky, but like you were at some point, that everyone includes you, because I mean, speaking for myself, when I moved from Argentina to the UK, I mean, not the same level, of course, of
Yeah.
rugby, but like speaking different language, like it took me a while to adjust to the team, to be honest. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 months that in terms of like living, it's not really much, but at that time I was signed just for 1 season, and 1 season is what, 8 9 months. So it took me like a quarter of the season, and that was difficult because I couldn't find myself. Like, I wanted to play as well. Like, I came for that reason. I just wanted to play, and I had my first starter game after 3 months, when I could, speak the language, when I knew all the codes, like all that kind of stuff that you have to do it. If not, like, you can't be a part of it, because you can be lost in a
Yeah.
pitch. Something that you did hold your whole career, but because of a language barrier, like, you don't know what to do.
It's difficult, isn't it? But I think because we were all there for one thing, was to succeed and to be the best rugby players we could be. I think when you're on sort of the same journey together, it's not scary. I've been to clubs where they're just there for other reasons, and that's where you don't feel welcomed, or you feel out of place. I think when you go to a club and they all want to succeed and they all want to do good things, you gel quicker. and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want to
they're
be
on the
there.
same page as you.
Yeah, 100%. And you're there to get better. You're there to be the best rugby player you can, because you now my age, you know it's not going to last forever. And I think that's the scary part that people don't realize is it's gone within, very quick.
Did you or have you thought about your future? What would you like to do?
It's a weird one because I was only talking about this the other day, and I think when you're 18, 19, you think I've still got 12 years left. You don't think of injuries, you don't think of anything else. So yeah, obviously moving to Rotherham has probably been the best decision because the club's great, the people behind it's even better, and they're really looking after me of understanding. There is a life after rugby. What do you want to do? So at the moment, I'm working with a few things which have been great. Obviously with Lindsay and Cookie, they've been great people looking after me, and the foundation are doing really really good things as well. So I think my passion lies with kids, helping them in the future. So hopefully, in a couple of more months, I'll be able to know what I'm doing and see where the future takes me.
Good. I mean, you're still enjoying rugby anyway. It's not like you are done,
Mm.
but yeah, that's good that you're
Yes.
thinking a
Yeah.
little bit of what would you like to do after rugby's gone, and a situation that rugby took you, and what I mean about rugby took you, like a trip or a situation that you thought you would never be able to like be living in that moment, but rugby like made that true. For example, I don't know, a trip.
Yeah, I guess it all started off under 11s. We went to Italy, went to Ireland, then under 14s went to Italy, and then under 15s went to South Africa, and then obviously with the Wales Sevens we went to Las Vegas and Wellington, and if in that time when you're there you don't appreciate it, and it sounds really bad, but you don't. Your time's flying, you're enjoying it. I just wish what I knew now back then is, to spend more quality time, to invest in the culture, to look around with the pictures and make memories, because it does fly by. But rugby has given me that opportunity to be able to, I guess, feel unstoppable. That's the word. You travel the world.
Yeah.
You play a sport that you love. You get paid to do it. Sometimes it's not the best. Sometimes it's actually really good. But for me, yeah, it's been a hell of a journey, and I'm slowly on that journey, but slowly closing that chapter of not being a professional rugby player anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel, or because you were talking that you are close to retirement, or the end of your career, do you feel that rugby, because rugby gave you so much, you feel you owe something to the sport?
100%. I think when you become so invested in it, and that's the only thing I can tell, is when rugby becomes your life, and when I mean your life, selfishly your life, yeah, it's difficult. So because rugby gives so much to me, I've also give it back to rugby. And I know it sounds really sad what I'm saying, but when you've invested so much in a sport, and the extra training, the extra passing, the extra gym weights, the extra cardio, the more you put into it, I feel like the more chances rugby gives to you. But now slowly coming to an end is I want to help youngsters and the people on the same pathway that want to succeed, is to help them. What is the best way, or how do you overcome difficult situations? Because I there's been 4 or 5 situations where rugby's been telling me to give up or to stop. No one values you, but you've just got to keep digging deep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, mate, when you told me your story for the first time, I couldn't believe it, and I want to say, thank you for sharing all of this. I really appreciate. It's something that I forgot to mention. When we're talking about, your retirement, or what would you like to do after, rugby, you are Latvian as well. You find out.
Yeah, so when I was 18, obviously in the sevens again, just before, I think it was after Sarri's sevens, I got approached by Ben Ryan, the English sevens coach, asking me if I had any English in me, and I was like, yeah, my granddad at the time was English. So anyway, as time went on, I had to show proof that my granddad was English, and it all came out that
just in case to explain to prove that you can play for England.
Yeah, sorry,
you know.
yeah. So like a
It
birth
sounds
certificate.
obvious, but maybe
Yeah,
you
sorry
know.
guys. Yeah, like a birth certificate to say, this is JB's granddad, and he's always been in my life. I'm very lucky to have my granddad in my life. But unfortunately, my real granddad, that's my mum's real dad, was Latvian.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so didn't have much information on my mum's real dad. Wasn't around, so I truly respect that. My granddad took us all on,
Yeah.
and what a great man he was. But yeah, found out I was Latvian, and yeah, I didn't really take fully interest, to be honest, because I wanted to pursue a career of my own and try and push on. And my dream was always to play for Wales. As a kid, but something kept telling me, you've give so much to rugby in a country like Latvia where it's limited resources. Go and help them. So yeah, I went over to watch a 15s game, which was a massive eye opener. But the way they did things and what the boys actually got, travel in Europe, staying in nice hotels, being a professional, really.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So yeah, they asked me to be the sevens coach.
How did you go to that point?
We were just talking. Obviously, I was injured. So obviously last year I had 4 big operations, sort of definitely thinking about retiring. And yeah, the president, Carlis, approached me and was like, would you be happy enough to take the sevens on? And it was a difficult decision to make, because I didn't play sevens for about 8 years, so I don't know whether I've completely lost the love or understanding of how sevens works. But I said, I'll give it a go. And I knew in the 15s, you've got to look after 20, 30 players. In the sevens, we had a team of 15, which, I could take a proper, in that short amount of time, to take a real interest and dig deep in understanding the players and what they want to achieve. And yeah, we had great fun. It was, they've never won a European Championship, and the first tournament was in Budapest, which we did okay, but there was a lot of things we could have worked on. For example, 21-0, we're beating Switzerland with 3 minutes left, and we lost 28-21.
Just in 3 minutes left.
Sorry, 19-0. It was 19-0.
Well, but still.
Yeah, 19-0, 3 minutes left. We lost 21-19. And I think that was the changing point for us, because we sat down, we watched that game, and I just tried to understand the players, what they were thinking, what's their thought process behind it all, and in this situation, that situation. And, Eastern European men are quite hardcore. There's not much emotion in those men. So yeah, we dug in deep, found different ways of getting them emotional and understanding them, and we worked really hard for the second tournament.
Was the group was already like there, or did you have also to work through, to build that, human group?
Yeah, no.
Say.
If you go back, like the video we've made, thank you Gus again for making that video. But it was just that understanding of what we had to go through to be able to succeed. And if you look back in those 3 months, what we did, we never cheated once. We never, no one cheated. No one did one less rep. No, everyone went through the pain. And as I said, the more you give to rugby, the more opportunities it's going to give or succeed of winning. And, we did. We won the second leg of the championship, and it was just truly amazing to see the boys' face. And, with the limited resources we had, which everyone working hard behind the scenes to try and get everything in, and the budget and things to do and everything like that. So we were very fortunate what we had. Boys worked really hard, and yeah, they're loving life at the moment. So.
Because, we always were saying, like, Six Nations, Autumn Nations, that you always watch normally the tier one teams. This is sevens, of course, but how would the World Rugby see Latvia as a rugby nation? Like, do they have, you were saying, like, they don't have many resources. Is that because why? Or what?
I guess it's the country as well. Rugby in Latvia, I think, is the 4th, 5th, 6th sport. You've obviously got the ice hockey, which is amazing. I went to the World Cup there. You've got the basketball, you've got the football, and rugby in Latvia is not very well known yet. But I think what we did over those 3 months was something, hopefully is starting to gain success from the younger generation to be like, I want to be like those.
So, I will give you like what happened in Argentina, 2007 World Cup in France, 15, not sevens.
Yeah.
Argentina at that time was a team that half of the team were professionals playing for Stade Français, or different, teams between Ireland, England, and France. And we became third, that no one thought we would beat France on the opening game, and we lost the semi-finals against South Africa, but we won again against France for the third position. And after that moment, Argentina will start to be looking as a rugby nation. Like kids started to play rugby, football always and still, the biggest sport as most of the world. But the clubs just, started to get kids everywhere.
Yeah.
And at that time, the World Rugby started to, look at Argentina as a nation who can play rugby. Do you think that will happen in Latvia as well?
Hey, look, it's a long process. It's not a 2-3 year thing in Latvia.
Oh no,
I
of
think
course.
it's a good, 5 to 10 years before they even want to get places. But our main object at the moment is to try and push those standards, to try and get those youngsters involved. And the more you get the youngsters involved and get the whole nation around it, I think the more, like you say in Argentina, look how successful they are. Latvia are in a situation now where they just need more youngsters to get involved, get the next generation up. But I think what the boys did was they left a legacy, and I think that's what we wanted to achieve, because now the next generation has got to buckle their ideas up and do well as well. So you never know. I wouldn't never say never. They've got good people there. They've got good people behind the scenes. And I just really hope that one day they can really push on and find themselves in a situation where they're in the second tier,
Yeah, of course, hopefully, and who, you never know, for like tier one as well. And in terms of 15, what are your thoughts? Or
Yeah, it's a long way, but this year they've got a really good group. They've got Norway, Finland, and Andorra, which for me I think they can beat all four. And I think what's so exciting is that because they're not as strong, they can bring youngsters involved, and so it's all a growing process. I think the way World Rugby have done it this year, well, next year is good, because it's all local, so they save money, so they can invest in other areas of the game. So yeah, the 15s is good. It's just getting that next generation up to understand the full rules and the games of rugby.
are the boys fully pro or semi-pro?
No,
Like,
not at all,
how
no.
does it work?
No, they work full time. It's just their pleasure, I guess. And that's what I found amazing. It's brought me back down to earth, I guess. Is when you're professional, you take it for granted. We had to graft. We had to boys had to take time off work, don't get paid. So it's a lot of sacrifices what they had to do. But hopefully, moving forward, there is sort of some game bonus, match bonus, just to give them a bit something back, because they deserve it.
And because you just been champion with the sevens, are you going to the 15th, or will you stick with the sevens?
Yeah, so this year I'm not going with the 15s, just because I've got a lot going on, and back with Rotherham, my first sort of after 9 months being injured, I wanted to take it slow. But next year it's a big focus of hopefully helping out the 15s a bit more, and the rugby out in Latvia. Yeah.
And moving forward for something that it bring us here, the World Cup.
Yeah.
You mentioned your mom is Welsh,
Yeah.
so I can't imagine how happy you are because of what happened against Australia.
Yeah, do you know what? We have these WhatsApp groups and stuff, and I think the amount of shit banter we get off English boys and stuff like that, and how Wales have performed before the World Cup. Everyone slagged them off and was like, they're not going to do this. But I feel like when you have a bunch of boys who are going through that and they stick together and no one loses interest, I think you can achieve big things. And I think against Fiji towards the end they were lucky, but they knew against Australia the amount of pressure they had, because Australia had to win. So to be fair to the boys, the Welsh boys, they they were animals. To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first team that qualified to the quarterfinals, you know, and they did it already on the second round. So, sorry, third round.
Yeah, third.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
So, and also as a rugby fan, you know, because being Argentinian, I watched that game like pretty chill and, you know, trying to enjoy. Oh, it's a huge game.
yeah.
Watching like, you know,
Dan Bigger.
Dan Bigger.
Dan Bigger.
Thank
Dan
you.
Bigger. Yeah.
Coming off on the 10 minutes after the game started, as a rugby fan, you think, oh, for fuck's sake, I just want to watch him play, you know.
Yeah.
But when the other fly half came in, mate, the way that he controlled the game, kicking, like, just tactically, like the strategy,
Yeah.
mate, he could be easily the starter as well.
I think that's what's good as well. I think when a 10 comes on like that, a guy like Gareth, you think he want to impress, individually. But I think, like you say, what he did, he controlled the game really well, kicked in the right areas, kicked for points when they were needed. And I think that's what slowly deteriorated Australia's, energy. There was a changing point for me. It was 10-9, 10-6. Australia had the penalty, went for touch, which they should have gone for the post.
Points,
in my
yeah.
opinion, I think that change of momentum was massive, and you could tell Jack Morgan, fair play to him, hell of a game.
Yeah, I mean, mate, the Welsh defense, he was just class.
Yeah.
I think also the energy that you could see on the Welsh players against the Australian, like, if the Australian player make a break line, mate, the Welsh players just, fly to the defense to just try to get the ball back again. And Faletau, for me, a key for the forwards. And both second rows, mate, they did the job on the line out and just huge tackles, mate.
Well, to be fair, you watch them in the past and no one's really stood out. This game, you watch like Will Rowlands and Jack Morgan and Nick Thompson in the centre. They all come alive. And you watch Gareth Davis, the scrum half, the amount of work rate he put in, for chop tackles, off the line, disturbing the rucks. It was just Wales looked like a hard team to beat.
Do you think because it was a difference of 34 points, it was 46? Do you think of course Wales did it? I mean, I'm not gonna say Wales haven't done it, but do you think also helped that Australia is not the best team nowadays?
If you watch Australia, if you look at the game again, I think their attacking structure, I wouldn't say there's a structure. Their 10 was very, very poor. He talked about bringing a young squad in and this and that, but you don't bring a young squad to a World Cup. In the championships and at the other cups, you bring a young squad in, like the autumn series, to
give him more.
Yeah. But a World Cup, and you miss out on 2 or 3 of your best players. You don't bring them. I think that's wrong.
Yeah. Do you think Eddie Jones is gone?
I don't know. He's obviously done good things, but the way he's approached it about bringing a young team to a World Cup, I don't really, value that.
I think he, Eddie Jones as a coach, step up when Japan won against South Africa back in 2015, the World Cup here in the UK. But after he took England, as a coach, the last season for England, he didn't perform well as well. Like, the team was like just going down and down. And when Steve Worthwick, signed as an English coach, and he goes to Australia, just, still going down all the time. He, I feel he couldn't just, try to go up again or be the coach that he was with Japan.
Yeah, but I also think it's the huge responsibilities to players.
Definitely,
It's the way you bring a squad together. It's the way you approach certain scenarios, different things.
With Ireland, South Africa.
Yeah,
mate, what a game.
Oh, mate, that's what Test rugby is all about.
Yeah, definitely. That's what you look for. It
100%.
could be easily the final, and the difference in terms of points, it wasn't that much, but the physicality of the tackles or the hits, between both packs,
Yeah.
Ireland and South Africa. Just again, as a rugby fan, not being on the Irish side or the South African side, just enjoying these two, teams. I think it's the Ireland the number one and South Africa number two.
Yeah.
It's just so good to watch, just full of joy.
Yeah,
I would say.
Everything you want from a Test rugby match, and yes, it was an important game, but there was flair. There was when you say a kicking game's boring, but when they kicked, everything was contestable or into space or a reward from it. It wasn't just kicking long, boring. There was always something exciting to watch.
You just said the kicking game. What happened with the South African kickers, mate?
Boss.
What's going on? They missed 11 points.
I know.
11 points. And that's huge.
Yeah, they all say, if they had a kicker, they'd win. But again, Ireland put so much into it. So I feel like you do get the reward back, South Africa did really well, don't get me wrong. But, they should have got the points. I think it's very important. But I think Ireland fully deserved to win.
Yeah, definitely. Because as we are saying, how South Africa, had huge players, just smashing the full pack, the centers. The whole South Africa. Also, we can't dismiss Ireland because they could stop them. Not every team can do that, and for a reason, they are the first team in the world ranking nowadays.
Yeah, you watch the way they play. Everyone's on the same page, and it's a simple sort of game plan, but they execute it really high, and there's no default or there's no at 60%. Everything's done at a high speed. They have 2 or 3 special plays that work. It's just their way that they control the game. They're not the biggest, but they trust, they believe in each other, and I think that goes a long way.
I was having a phone call with my dad before the game, and I was saying to him, like, why Johnny Sexton will play, and mate, he just shut my mouth.
Yeah,
because yeah,
yeah.
It was I think a play where he basically stood down because of a pain on his shoulder, wherever. But the way again that he controlled the game tactically, the kicking game, the kicking to the post, like to score points.
Again, experience helps. Look at Australia. They bring a young squad and stuff, and that's the results you get. With Ireland, it's young, it's very experienced, and they know experience will help them win those sort of games or put the team in the right positions to be able to put them on the front foot.
Yeah, I think. It's very early, but shall we say Ireland? We knew before the World Cup that it's one of the candidates to win the World Cup. But do you think now they did like another step?
100%. I think the 4 teams we're looking at, for the semi-finals, finals is for me New Zealand, South Africa, France, and Ireland. They're the 4 I feel like can really win. But Ireland, they put themselves in a situation where they want to be there, and I seen it coming. So
I really agree with that teams, but I would add England as well, for the way that how George Ford is controlling the game. And I think England has the players to play a physical game. They play on the Premiership, and for me, the Premiership is one of the top leagues in the world.
Yeah, I think the English Premiership, I don't think it's most physical. I think the top 14 is the most physical set piece, domination there. But I just don't, like Wales, I think they're doing great. Have they got a team to win the World Cup? I don't think so. England, I feel the same. I just don't think they're quite there. I don't know. But we'll see in a few weeks.
I was saying with Tommy in the first episode, England is the only team from the north that won the World Cup.
Yeah, but I think looking now to that time is a whole different squad, and I just don't know. I just think they've got some great players. George Ford has done extremely well. The time that Faz has been out, but I just don't think, my personal opinion, they will go that far.
We'll see. We'll see. But I agree with you that I think, it's between Ireland definitely that what they did against South Africa. South Africa because they are the last world champion. New Zealand is New Zealand, and France the last 2 years are become just one of the best teams in the
You've
world.
also got to be
definitely.
positive. Argentina, Wales, quarterfinals.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Come on,
I don't want to
guys.
say that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
never know what can happen.
Good. Mate, thank you
No, thank
for
you
coming
guys.
today.
Yeah,
Thank you everyone for watching, and mate, it's been a pleasure.
perfect.
Thank you very much, mate.
This boom. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, mate.